Think about the most anxious adult you know, the one who worries constantly and always expects something to go wrong. You think all that anxiety was learned as an adult, or do you think most of it was ingrained in this person as a child? Because some of the parenting habits that increase anxiety do not look harmful at all. They look loving. So later in this video, I'll show you a very important pattern that teaches a child the world is not safe. If you have a child who worries a lot, avoids things, or needs constant reassurance, this video is for you, because anxiety in children is real, it is common, and it often shows up in ways parents do not expect. The NHS and lifestyle guidance both support taking anxiety seriously when it is persistent or affecting daily life. So let's break down the everyday patterns that can quietly make childhood anxiety stronger over time. First, let's make sure we are talking about the same thing when we say anxiety in children. Because childhood anxiety does not always look like a child saying, "I feel anxious." It can look like coming aches, sleep problems, irritability, clinginess, school refusal, or endless reassurance seeking. NHS also highlights things like poor concentration, eating changes, angry outbursts, and constant worrying. So if your child does not look obviously anxious, that does not mean anxiety is not there. And from a nice CK's point of view, what matters is severity, persistence, and impact on daily life. In other words, is this occasional and expected, or is it starting to interfere with normal life? With that in mind, let's start with the very first way children learn anxiety. From your face. Say your toddler trips on the rug, looks up at you, and in that split second, they read your face. If your face says catastrophe, their brain takes that as information before words even arrive. This is called social referencing, and it is one of the earliest ways children learned what is safe. So sometimes they are not crumbing because of the bump itself, but because of your panic. And if small, ordinary incidents are repeatedly met with big alarm, the child starts scanning for threat. This doesn't mean pretending nothing matters. It means checking first before communicating danger. A calmer face and steadier voice teach the brain, "That startled me, but I am okay." And once anxiety learns to read faces, it very quickly starts listening to words as well. Be careful, you can really hurt yourself. Don't do that, something awful might happen. Sound familiar? These phrases usually come from love, and I want to be really clear about that. But a child's brain builds a library from the phrases they hear over and over again. And if that library is full of worst-case scenarios, the child starts expecting danger in ordinary situations. They do not hear wisdom. They hear that the world is full of things waiting to go wrong. A more helpful approach is calm risk coaching. Like, "This looks tricky. What do you need to watch?" That teaches thinking, assessment, and confidence instead of automatic fear. Now, let's talk about another pattern many loving parents fall into without even realizing: rescuing too fast. We need to accept that discomfort is not an emergency, but children learn it is one if adults treat it like one. If they're bored and you instantly provide stimulation, the brain learns boredom must be escaped. If they are frustrated and you instantly fix the problem, the brain learns frustration cannot be tolerated. And if they are anxious and you instantly erase the feeling, they never learn that fear can be survived. One of the biggest protective factors against anxiety is learning to feel discomfort and keep going anyway. But that does not mean leaving a child alone in distress. It means sitting with them before removing it. So instead of fixing instantly, try naming the feeling and helping them stay with it for a moment. Because once we rescue children from every hard feeling, we usually start shrinking their world as well. This one is incredibly understandable, especially if you are naturally anxious or worry a lot. You stop them trying things, remove obstacles, and step in before struggle has a chance to teach anything. And it feels like protection, because of course you want your child to avoid distress and failure. But confidence is not built by being told you are capable. It is built by experiencing it. A child who never handles small challenge arrives at bigger challenge with no evidence they can cope. But I'm not saying that the goal is to throw them into things they cannot manage. That's not it at all. It is giving them a slightly bigger world, with you close enough to coach but not control. And this becomes even more important when your own anxiety starts setting the emotional weather at home. This is the hardest pattern to talk about, and honestly, it lands hardest for most parents. Children are not only learning from what you say, they are learning from the state your nervous system lives in. If your baseline is tension, scanning, worry, and expecting problems, that becomes normal in their world too. Not because you mean to pass anxiety alone, but because children absorb emotional climate continuously. And I want to say this carefully, because this is not a reason to feel guilty or ashamed. But it is a reason to take your own anxiety seriously, because supporting yourself supports your child too. Therapy, boundaries, sleep, support, slowing down, whatever genuinely helps you regulate will change the atmosphere. And sometimes that change in emotional climate is more powerful than any parenting script you memorize. Now, the next pattern looks comforting on the surface, but it often keeps anxiety stuck in place. Your child says, "What if I cannot do it? What if something goes wrong? What if I feel scared?" And your instinct is naturally to say, "You will be fine, don't worry, there is nothing to fear." That often works for a little while, and then the same anxiety comes back, needing more reassurance. This is the reassurance loop, and it can accidentally strengthen anxiety rather than reduce it, because the relief comes from escaping uncertainty, not from learning that uncertainty can be handled. So instead of only reassuring, try asking, "What do you think you could do first?" That keeps you connected, but it also helps them access their own coping. You are still helping, just in a way that builds resilience instead of dependence on reassurance. But there are still two background patterns we need to talk about, and both matter hugely. Children do not need to be the target of conflict, to be affected by conflict. If there is frequent tension, raised voices, or unresolved adult stress in the room, their nervous system notices. They may not understand the words, but they understand that safety feels less predictable. The same goes for adult worries spoken out loud over and over in front of children. There is a difference between honest, age-appropriate explanation and repeatedly exposing children to adult overwhelm. A much safer message is, things are hard right now, but we are working through it. And one of the most powerful things you can do is model coping out loud. So if you feel nervous, show them calm recovery, like "I'm nervous," and doing it anyway. If your child's anxiety is persistent, severe, or affecting daily life, please speak to your GP.
Me too, sweetie.
Thanks for watching. If this helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow along for more simple pediatric tips every week. See you in the next video.